Hello, my name's Roisin, and does this count as cosplay? Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a themed reading vlog where I read books that have inspired Studio Ghibli film adaptations, and then I'm going to watch the adaptation and talk to you, comparing the two, what I thought of them, and how well I think they did as an adaptation. So in terms of my history with Studio Ghibli, I have seen Spirited Away, and I think I first watched it when I was like 10 or 11, and then I have also seen Ponyo, and my friends were all obsessed with Ponyo when I was a teenager. Since then, Netflix gained the rights for all of the Studio Ghibli movies in the UK, and when they came on, I noticed that there was one called Arrietty, which was clearly from The Borrowers, and it was at that point that I realised that Studio Ghibli had adapted The Borrowers into a film. And as I read The Borrowers a lot when I was a kid, I thought that would be really interesting to watch, and that kind of got me going down a rabbit hole. I've seen a lot of people online, including like Christy Ann Jones and Carrie Cakes, talking about Studio Ghibli and doing like baking Studio Ghibli cakes and doing Studio Ghibli inspired vlogs and things. I will leave some links in the description down below. And so I thought it might be a fun idea to do this reading vlog. So the first one I've already mentioned, and that is The Borrowers by Mary Norton. And so as I mentioned, I used to get these as audiobooks out from the library all of the time when I was a kid, so I think I've read the first two that way. For this vlog I'm only going to be reading the first one. This is all of the 6 Borrowers novels collected, and The Borrowers tells the story of the Clocks, who are Pod, Homily and Arrietty, 3 little people who live in a house near Leighton Buzzard, the time that they get seen by the human beings. And this is a children's book, I believe from the 1950s. Then I also have Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono. This is one of the films that is really famous, that I've heard a lot about, the film version of Kiki's Delivery Service, and this book tells the story of Kiki, who is a trainee witch, and she starts a delivery service in a small town where she's just delivering things back and forth to people, because although she's a witch, the only power that she has is that she can fly on a broom. And it kind of just follows her escapades, learning to be a witch and learning her place in the world. Then the other one that is super famous that I'm going to read is Howl's Moving Castle, and this is by Wynne Jones. This is another mid-century British middle grade novel, and this tells the story of the wizard Howl and Sophie, who gets swept up in the wizard Howl's world. In the land of Ingery, where 7-league boots and cloaks of invisibility really exist, Sophie Hatter attracts the unwelcome attention of the Witch of the Waste, who puts a curse on her. Determined to make the best of things, Sophie travels to the one place where she might get help, the moving castle which hovers on the nearby hills. People rave about this film as well, so I'm very excited to read this and get to know what all the fuss is about. Then I'm also going to listen to the audiobook of When Marnie Was There, which is a 1967 novella by Joan G. Robinson, about a girl called Anna who is unwell, and so she's sent away to live by the seaside for a summer to recover and recuperate, and she meets a girl, Marnie, while she's by the seaside. This one I have seen, again, lots of imagery of, but I actually don't know anything about the film at all. I don't think I've ever heard anyone really talk about that one, but I am looking forward to seeing what the relationship between these two girls is like. And then finally, I'm also going to read The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, which is a 11th century Japanese fairy tale, I think, which was adapted by Ghibli to The Tale of Princess Kaguya. And this tells the story of a girl who is found in a bamboo shoot by a man, and he takes her home to his wife, and she grows, and they call her a princess, and then these 5 different men try and be her suitors, and I think she comes from the moon. So it's just a fairy tale that Studio Ghibli have adapted into a film, and so I'm interested to read that, to see some more fairy tales, folklore from around the world. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to read and all the films that I'm going to watch. So let's see how we get on. Hello, so it is April and I have started reading Howl's Moving Castle. I'm attempting slightly to Ghiblify my outfits and everything for this vlog, so it's going to be quite hard, because I feel like, especially like Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle, very much a pastel aesthetic, and like it's all cottagecore, very cute. I am not a pastel girl, I'm much more of a jewel tone kind of gal. So I'm trying my best, but she's always buttoned up, I think, from the images I've seen. I've not seen the film yet, as I think I've mentioned. This is my attempt. I am wearing a dress. I really didn't think this through. Let's see how much of me you can see. There we go. See? This is my attempt at Sophie. I've also borrowed a houseplant from another room to try and make this feel a bit more like cottagecore and cute. Regardless, I'm about this far through. I'm 20% of the way through. I think I'm in love with this book. This book is so charming and so beautiful. It's so lovely. Like, I wouldn't say it was beautifully written, but it is perfectly written in this sort of charming fairy tale style. There is just something really lovely and charming about it. It is, I can really imagine it, I can really see it in my mind, and as I mentioned, I haven't seen the film yet, so it'll be interesting to see how the film changes or lives up to what I think in my head. I think particularly because I have seen images of the film, it won't be that different, but I am quite excited to see it adapted. This Sophie is lovely. I love the way that she was like really timid and shy when she was a girl, but now that she is an old woman, she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna be a cantankerous old lady. I love that about her. Everything has so much whimsy and like the crotchety fire being really grumpy but actually being quite sweet. So much heart in it already, and I'm only 20% of the way in. I was thinking about this, how last year my comfort reads were romance. I was reading a lot of Regency romance last year when I couldn't think, and I think I've kind of done myself out of them. That doesn't make any sense, but I've kind of given up on them. I have overdone it and they don't charm me anymore, and reading this has made me feel like maybe middle grade light fantasy is where I should find my comfort this year, because I'm enjoying this, and the thing that it reminds me the most of, even though it's quite different, is the girl who circumnavigated fairyland in a ship of her own making. There's got that charm and that heart, and that it's saying something about morals and stuff, but without banging you over the head with it. So I'm really excited to read some more of this and see where it goes. But yeah, so far I'm having a really good time. And we will see how well I do at dressing Ghibli, because I've ordered some hair bows off Etsy, so hopefully in the future I will look even more fitting for this vlog. Hello. So it is the next day, and I'm wearing the same clothes because I didn't wear them for very long yesterday before I put my jammies back on, which might be the same case today. I'm so tired. I'm halfway through Howl's Moving Castle now, and I'm really liking it. I love it. We're just getting into the mystery a bit more. I said the plot's getting a bit more plotty, but I'm just so charmed. Really, really enjoying it. Normally I have more to say, but I feel like this is gonna be quite I also feel like this is the perfect week, like the perfect month that I've decided to do this very low-key vlog, because I've just been hit with the worst fatigue today, and I am just I'm in my bed. And I'm struggling to think of things to say, so it's probably quite good that I don't need to do too much literary analysis. Hopefully I will have some more to say, and I'm also going to watch the films and tell you what I think of the films as well, so there'll be more to it when I do that. My cheek is distractingly shiny. Hello! So I have finished Howl's Moving Castle now, and I unreservedly, unabashedly, wholeheartedly love this book. This book is brilliant. I loved it so much. Like 5 stars, all of the stars. Like towards the end, there was a bit where I thought that the ending was going to be summed up really too easily, but then it wasn't, and it was good. I loved Howl and Sophie's relationship. I loved that kind of like sarcastic, always being like eye rolly at each other, but deep down really care about each other's feelings and understand each other. I loved the description. I thought the description was great. I thought there was a lot of whimsy and fun and joy and heart and all the things you want in a middle grade fantasy. I feel like I don't have much to say about this, because like it is a middle grade fantasy. Like it's not like last month with all that literature. There's not so much to analyse about this book, but I loved it, and I'm really glad that I have read it. It's exactly what I needed after nearly breaking my brain last month. It is so joyful and wholesome, but like not in a saccharine or whitewashy way. Oh, I mean, yes, it's very white, but I meant that more in a like not removing any negativity from the world. I'm looking forward to seeing the film of this. I want to read Kiki's delivery service at some point, but I bought 2 giant bows, a red one and a yellow one, for Kiki and Arietti. I know Arietti wears a like clothespin but you know, I'm not gonna find a giant clothespin anywhere, so I thought the bow would be a stand-in for that. And I ordered them 2 weeks ago and they still haven't arrived, so I'm ploughing on with this. So I've come out into my garden to read for a little while, because I'm struggling this week. Intense migraine, high levels of fatigue, so I need this vitamin D situation. It's really nice out here right now, although it was snowing 2 hours ago, so my boyfriend just bought me a cup of tea. I was just thinking about how, since I've been doing these vlogs this year so far, these challenge vlogs, I'm talking to you much more about my reading and showing you less of my life. Like in the 24-hour vlogs that I do, sorry, there's so many birds, I show you aspects of my life, but in these longer vlogs I haven't been. And I thought, since this video is possibly going to be a little lighter on the literary analysis than some of the other videos I've been doing, I thought I'd show you a little bit what I've been doing. So, as well as mostly resting and working, etc., it is April, which means it's time to start gardening. So I'll insert some clips here. We've got our trees that my boyfriend went mad about last year. At the end of last year, autumn time, planted so many trees, and like the beginnings of a fruiting hedge, which just looks like tiny little twigs with leaves on at the moment, but hopefully it will grow into a big hedge around the edge of our garden. And then I got my little seedlings, which I'll show you a clip of. I just watered them today. I've only just brought them outside. They were inside while it was snowing, because I'm not sure tomato plants are hardy enough for snow, but they live in our conservatory, and when it's sunny like this it gets too hot and they all wilt and die, which is what happened last year, so try and look after them. Hopefully this year we'll get a little more than that. I'm going to be paying a bit more attention, and hopefully not make the same mistakes I did last year where the slugs ate everything. I'll keep doing some gardening updates if you're interested in them. I enjoy it. It takes me a long time to actually do anything in the garden because it takes a lot of energy. I can do like 20 minutes of gardening at a time. But I enjoy it. I enjoy being out here, especially when I'm not feeling great. If you go back to last year, I made a tent in the garden about this time last year. I'll leave in the cards above my video about that, because just being outside just really helps with my mood and with my energy. Like, it doesn't change my energy levels, but I'm really glad we have a garden now. Oh, look at that. That lighting's much nicer, isn't it? Thank you, cloud, although you look a bit ominous. Yeah, it doesn't change my mood, it doesn't change my energy levels, but it helps me to feel less like I'm stuck in my bed or on the sofa, the fact that I can get outside. So really pleased we have a garden now. I also thought being outside is maybe a little more Ghibli aesthetic than my house. So he is a wizard. Hello! So, I have now finished the film version of Howl's Moving Castle. So, while it was very beautiful in the Ghibli way, it was a very pretty cartoon, it was much darker than the book. There was a war in it that's not in the book, which was, like, it was interesting the way that that was used. But no, I didn't like it as much as the book. It didn't have well, it was whimsical, but not quite in the same way as the book. It wasn't as charming to me as the book is. It was a lot darker. There was a lot of like dark things put in there. I felt like it didn't really explore the Sophie Howl relationship properly, or in the same way as the book. It felt a lot like more like, oh, she met him and she was just instantly in love with him. And then also, like, it took away a lot of Sophie's power and made her very much more a damsel in distress. And like, the only power that she had was like magic tears and sacrifice and kissing the prince kind of thing. It didn't have the... She was truly powerful in her own right in the book and from the beginning, and that was kind of just left out of the film and kind of ignored. And Howl was this all-powerful kind of dark character, which again in the book he's just kind of a ridiculous character. I don't know, I preferred the book definitely for this one. We'll see, but that's the first one, and the book has won this round. Got some Ghibli ambience on while I read. Hello, good morning. I'm just up. So I finished The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter last night. It was just a very short, like, fairy tale, kind of a standard fairy tale, quite cute. It involved, giving men tasks before you marry them and setting them impossible tasks so you know they will fail. And then an ending that was entirely unrelated to all those tasks. Like, when you read a lot of old fairy tales, you're like, this is not how stories work, but it's just because the way stories work now is very specific to our current understanding of stories. So things didn't used to be the same. Anyway, the film version, Princess Kaguya, was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Film. So hopefully I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to watch that this morning because my period is knackering me this month and I just want to lie down. I'm going to watch that and tell you what I thought. And then tomorrow I'll move on to some of the more stories. I don't think these hairband bows are coming. I'm going to have to request a refund from this bloke because they just haven't turned up. It's been 2 weeks. Okay, this movie is really beautiful and lovely and everything, but does this not look like a Red Bull advert? It looks like a Red Bull advert. I made a chocolate cake. So yeah, I haven't talked to you about the film because as I showed you, I made a chocolate cake instead. I enjoyed it. It was quite nice. I liked that the film gave Princess Kaguya more of a personality. There was it was a bit more in depth, a bit more to it than just the fairy tale, which I guess you'd kind of need for a 2-hour film because the fairy tale, like, characters in fairy tales don't have much depth wherever those fairy tales are from. It was interesting to read a Japanese fairy tale and see how many of the same themes are repeated throughout fairy tales, like how similar it is to European fairy tales or like Greek myths and stuff. So I enjoyed that aspect of it and learning some stuff about culture like teeth lacquering. So throughout different parts of Southeast Asia, Japan, India, people in the upper classes painted their teeth black with lacquer, which sounds like it wouldn't have looked very nice, but it prevented tooth decay. So sensible thing to do, really, when you don't have fluoride. So yeah, interesting. I had a good time, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's a story that's going to stick with me particularly, but what more do you expect? Hello! So, it is Borrower's Day, and I have actually made an attempt to dress up like Arrietty from the film. The Secret Life of Arrietty, I think, is the name of the film that is from Borrowers. So, I have started reading this again, and I really remember it. I keep getting, really vivid flashbacks to being a child in my, loft bed when I was listening to this story over and over. I have really strong memories of everything that's happening, and, even the words, when they started talking about blotting paper, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid and I had absolutely no idea what blotting paper is because it's such a Victorian thing that we don't have anymore. And so yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, although I'm having trouble with the audiobook. Christopher Eccleston reads it and I don't know if it's necessarily his fault, but I just can't seem to pay attention to the audiobook, which is weird because I usually love audiobooks. So I'm probably going to try and finish reading it in book form. It's really quick. The audiobook's only 4 hours long, so it probably will only take me 2 hours to actually read with my eyes the rest of the book, so that is good. I will try and get a full shot of my Arrietty outfit outside today. I will try and get my boyfriend to shoot that for me, but if it is in portrait, I apologise because no matter how many times I do this gesture at him, he still seems to want to film everything portrait style, so I'll have a go. Hello, so I have finished The Borrowers now, and it was fun. It was fine. Very much a children's story, not one that really holds much for you once you've grown up, I don't think. And a lot quicker than I remember. Everything happens really fast, which I guess it has to, since it's an 140-page book. Like, it's a novella, if it were adult length. So everything just happens rapidly, one after the other. I'd forgotten a bit about, like, her great aunt telling her, Katie, the story. And it's a story that she was told by her brother, so it's like hearsay. And then the next book is what she actually experienced, I think. And it's got like this extra element to it where we're being told a story that's being told a story, which is quite fun. But we're going out now. We're going to have dinner at a pub, so I'm very excited, but I'm putting all my clothes on because it's outside, so it'll be very cold. And so we'll watch Arrietty, The Secret Life of Arrietty, later when I get back, probably. Hello! So, I have just finished Arrietty, The Secret World of Arrietty. Sorry, I have had a drink. I just finished The Secret Life of Arrietty and I thought it was okay. Like, I was really enjoying Studio Ghibli's backgrounds. Like, it was very cute, very pretty, very aesthetic. Like, pretty accurate in terms of the adaptation. It was pretty similar to the storyline of the book, so a really simple storyline. I also enjoyed that they made Pod, like, instead of being like doddery middle-aged man, he was like a mountain climber, which I thought was quite cool. Made sense, you know, considering the way that he has to climb things in order to borrow. They did make the borrowers smaller than I would imagine them. Like, they were about this big, whereas I imagine them being more like yay high. You can't see that. Like, more like 30 centimetres, 20 centimetres, as opposed to like 8. So I think they were a bit small compared to how they're called. And there was a bit of like extra added drama because, like, in the book, the boy is sick, but scarlet fever or something that he's got like the hangover from, like a bit of post-viral fatigue, whereas in this he like needs heart surgery, and there's a lot of added melodrama to the anime that's not in the book. But I enjoyed it. I definitely think I preferred it to Howl's Moving Castle, which maybe is not a popular take, but I think might be because I'd just read the book of Howl's Moving Castle and I loved it so much, and they changed so much, and I loved Howl so much in the book, and I really didn't like Howl in the anime. And also they removed all of Sophie's powers. I mean, I guess the book felt really fast, so I guess it worked as an adaptation. Also, I was watching it in Japanese with the English dub, because purists always say that that's the best way to watch things. But I turned on the English dub for a bit, and it was Olivia Colman. I was just like, oh, that's Olivia Colman. And then I looked it up, and it's also Mark Strong, Saoirse Ronan, and Tom Holland. Like, quite a cast. Hello. So I'm about halfway through when Marnie was here today, and I'm dressed in my Marniest outfit I could manage. I'll try and show you the whole thing a bit better than that. So far the book is fine. Again, this one I'm not loving so much. It's giving me a bit of Fantastic vibes, though no one has done anything racist yet. And I don't want to spoil it, but I'm pretty sure I already know what the spoiler is. No, without knowing anything about the book, I'm pretty sure it's fairly straightforward because it's written for children. So with an adult brain, you're like, oh yeah, of course, that's what's going on. Hello. So I have just finished the audiobook of When Marnie Was There. It was fine. I didn't guess the twist. Well, I kind of guessed the twist, but I didn't guess the whole of the twist until the end. But it was just a bit, you know, 1950s kind of children's book. The morals were very heavy-handed, and there's a lot of people telling you things. It wasn't my favourite story that I've ever read. It was just fine. It feels weird to be rating it because it feels like it's a kid's story that doesn't transcend. Like Howl's Moving Castle, I loved because it had so much whimsy and fun and had stuff in it for adults, whereas the 1950s children's books is like, Well now, children, you know if you're very, very good, or sometimes we all feel sad, you know, children, which it just felt a bit patronising and a bit like that. So I'm going to watch the film and then I'm going to read Kiki's Delivery Service, and that will be it. I think that I'm going to enjoy Kiki's Delivery Service. This is my theory. This is going to be my second favourite. I don't think I'm going to like it quite as much as Howl's Moving Castle, but I think that this is going to be my favourite film of all of them. That's my theory. Anyway, so we'll have to see when we get there. But clearly this is, you know, for younger children, again, than Howl's Moving Castle. I think that when Marnie was there, it was also for younger children. Hello. Just finished when Marnie was here. It was fine. Very true to the book. Oh, sorry. A little condensed for time. That makes sense. And it was just very true to the book. A little less patronising, maybe. But fine. I think the thing I liked most about the book was the family relationships. There's, like, Marnie and Anna, but then there's also this other family that move into the house and Anna meets the other family and becomes friends with them, and there's 5 children, and I love that dynamic. I love lots of children having a good time and being friends, which wasn't in the film. Like, the family's kind of there, but there's only 2 children, and she only really speaks to one of them, so that's different. And obviously it's moved to Japan instead of England. That makes sense. Like, in Howl's Moving Castle, Howl, in the book, is Welsh. I don't know, maybe what I'm learning is that I'm not the biggest Studio Ghibli fan. Like, they're pretty. And I love Spirited Away. I really enjoyed that when I watched it when I was a kid. And My Neighbor Totoro. I enjoyed that one too. But these 4 so far, I haven't loved. And like, Howl's Moving Castle is one of the big ones, isn't it? But I didn't love it. And I don't know if that's just because I loved the book so much. But we're going to read Kiki's Delivery Service and watch that film. And maybe that film will turn things around. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I've been put to bed. Because my ankle swole up. It's massive. I think it's arthritis. I haven't done anything for it to be an injury. I have psoriatic arthritis, if you didn't know. I am on medication for it, but my ankle is just all squishy and sore. And I've also got the beginnings of a migraine. So I'm going to try and read for a bit more of this. So far, fine. Again, it seems quite sweet. It definitely seems like a younger audience than Howl's Moving Castle, but I'm enjoying it, I guess. Hello, so we are in my garden now, and I have finished reading Kiki's Delivery Service. So this kind of reminded me of like children's TV programs for 8, 9 years old, I guess. Lots of like quirky characters getting into sort of zany scrapes, and only our heroine can save those very simple problems because all the adults are just being quite silly about everything. Everything's sort of very cartoony, overstated, very, very simplified, which, considering she wrote this for her 12-year-old daughter, I feel like she kind of underestimated her 12-year-old daughter in terms of how this is written. It feels really, really young. I thought going into this that I was going to like enjoy reading middle grade, get to know some things about middle grade, what I prefer. And when I read Howl's Moving Castle and I loved it so much, I thought, oh yay, I'm really excited for the rest of the stories in this vlog. But I haven't really loved any of the rest of them the same way that I did with Howl's Moving Castle. And I didn't love the film of Howl's Moving Castle as much as the book. I had some issues with it. So I'm going to watch the film of Kiki's Delivery Service now out here in the garden and hopefully I will love that one. I feel like there's a lot of potential for it to be very cute if they kind of age it up a bit and don't do quite so much like oversimplified zaniness, and give us more like meat to the story, which I think is what I've experienced with the Studio Ghibli films that I've watched so far. They gave Princess Kaguya much more like meat to her story. She had much more of a developed character. I felt like Arrietty was kind of the same level as the book, and then Howl's Moving Castle wasn't as good as the book, but we will have to see how well they do with Kiki's delivery service. I feel like it's got the potential. It's really interesting, the books and things that they choose to develop. Like one was a Japanese fairy tale, and this is a children's book by a Japanese author, like originally published in Japanese. The others were not, but they are definitely, I don't know how well known these stories were in Japan before they were developed for Studio Ghibli, but it seems like they're doing things that are a little less well known, which is interesting. Hello! So I have watched Kiki's delivery service now, and I have to say I think I was right, and that was my favourite of all of the films. It did a really strong job as an adaptation of Kiki's delivery service, because I think it still had the essential heart of this. Kiki was very much the same. She was kind of nervous and worried, but also still a child, and I think it kept her spirit whilst taking away some of the condescension that I felt in the tone of this book, and also removing several of the more like wacky episodes and instead giving us a strong narrative arc throughout the whole thing. This felt like kind of a series of vignettes where just Kiki was the only one who had any common sense at all, whereas the film kind of develops her character more, and we see more of her fear and her coming of age, which is what the book is supposed to be about, and I think the film did a much better job of that, and I definitely feel like it was the strongest as an adaptation because it improved upon the source material, actually alongside the tale of Princess Kaguya, which I think did a similar thing in keeping up the heart of the book or the original folklore story whilst giving us more of a fully rounded backstory, a fully developed character with some more character development throughout. So there we have it. That is all 5 of the books and films that I read and watched. It was an interesting experience because it was a little different than what I was expecting. I'll go through them from the beginning. As I've already mentioned, I absolutely fell in love with this book. I want to just read more Diana Wynne Jones now. This book was so good and so strong, and I feel like the adaptation really was a letdown for me, especially considering Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro and Howl's Moving Castle are the 3 of the Ghibli films that I feel like I hear about the most. And I love Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro, but Howl's Moving Castle just did not live up to the source material. It was definitely a change in that it was more about war and like a pro-peace pacifist book, pro-peace pacifist movie, whereas that is kind of barely mentioned in the book. But the reason that I was so disappointed with it was because they took away what I found charming about Howl in the book and made him kind of this like suave, mysterious guy, which he is not in the book. But mostly they took away all of Sophie's power and agency, and she's such an interesting character in this book. She is a powerful sorceress in her own right, which she is not at all in the film. She's just a damsel in distress, and she's also like grumpy and crotchety and mouthy and like does things without thinking. She's not, and they reduce her to being just a girl. Like in the film they make her very much like a fictional girl of fantasy novels rather than this kind of constantly grumpy, never showing her feelings, kind of different character that she is in this. And I feel like that was such a letdown because the strength of this book really resides with Sophie, and I really was disappointed that they didn't keep that up well in the adaptation. The Borrowers and The Secret Life of Arrietty, or Arrietty, depending on which jurisdiction you live in, I feel like that was a really faithful adaptation of the book. I feel like I liked it as much as the book, which is to say it was just fine. It was just a fun, enjoyable experience, but kind of light and fluffy and won't stick with me. It was absolutely stunningly beautiful. I really appreciated all the like drawings of nature. Arrietty's room I thought was lovely. I think that's true in all of these. Scenes and clothes I feel like are things that Studio Ghibli does really well. I always wanted to like have a lot of the characters' clothes, particularly in Princess Kaguya. Those like kimono trouser, split skirt trouser thing, fell in love, wanted a pair of those definitely, but this, yeah, was just a very faithful adaptation, much more faithful than the 1990s live action version. Exactly the same level of charm. There were some bits that were added, I think, from future novels in the series, but I haven't read those, so I can't confirm that for sure. I don't think it's a film that I will return to, but I also don't think they are books that I will return to. I loved them when I was a child, and I feel like they don't really stand up as an adult. Kiki's delivery service, I feel like doesn't work for adults, and When Marnie Was Here, I feel the same thing about. When Marnie Was Here and Kiki's delivery service both feel like they are kind of patronising, and maybe that wouldn't be how they would feel to a child reading them, but as an adult reading them, it feels very much like, I am an adult telling you a story and here I am talking down to you, whereas that is not true of Howl's Moving Castle. Now, I feel like Howl's Moving Castle is aimed at a slightly older reading audience than Kiki's delivery service and When Marnie Was Here, but both of them just feel a little like they're missing something. This one particularly, because there was a little more emotional resonance in the other one, although I feel like it was a lot of this adult says something, then this adult says something, then this adult says something. And this, as I've mentioned, feels like a children's TV series of quirky episodes. So neither of them do I feel like I'll be reading again, but I probably would watch Kiki's delivery service again. When Marnie Was Here was quite charming, quite lovely, again, the film, but it didn't have the same amount of warmth that I felt from Kiki's delivery service. And so I don't think that it quite charmed me to the same extent. And I don't know if that's from having read the book and already knowing what the twist would be, because it is a book and a film that relies quite heavily upon its twist, I think, and that might be why it struggled when I already knew what the twist was. And then The Tale of Princess Kaguya, again, they didn't have much to work with for the source material. I mean, fairy tales are quite stripped and bare, so there's quite a lot of work you had to put in it. I felt like the romantic relationship felt a little odd being thrown in there, and the father definitely didn't feel like a loving father, more someone trying to take advantage of his daughter, trying to get status from the fact that his daughter was incredibly beautiful. But the artwork of that film, absolutely stunning. I would watch it again just for that, except the end where it looked like a Red Bull advert, but I loved the way it looked like watercolours on paper, and used a lot of inspiration from traditional Japanese art. I thought that was really, really beautiful. I don't think I'm the best for comparing adaptations. Films aren't like an area of my expertise. I'm not someone who watches a huge amount of them. I probably have watched more films this week than the rest of the year before this week. So whilst I enjoyed this experience, I don't think that there is enough really to dive into in a lot of these books. I had a nice time, and I'm really pleased this only took me a week, and I feel like I've struggled far less with this than I definitely did with the last one and some of the others as well, so that was fun. Please let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about Studio Ghibli films? Are you a big fan? Have you read any of the books that from which they are adapted? I would love to hear your thoughts on them too. The next one of these challenges will be the first of my Reading the Regions challenge, which I will leave the cards to the intro video to that, but I'm very excited for that. Thank you for watching. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and to subscribe. I put out new videos 3 times a week, and so I will see you again very, very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!